The smell of Kira's quarters hit Lisa like a physical blow. 3 months had passed since the notification arrived, yet her daughter's scent still lingered in the fabrics, the bedding, the worn training jacket draped over the chair. Lisa stood in the doorway, one hand pressed against the frame, fighting the urge to turn around and seal the door forever. Her daughter was gone. That fact sat heavy in her chest, a weight that made breathing difficult some days. Commander Lisa Orthen had sent hundreds of soldiers in a battle during her career. She understood loss, understood sacrifice, understood the cold mathematics of war. But understanding did nothing to ease the pain of reading Kira's name on a casualty report. Nothing prepared a mother for that particular devastation. The official report sat on Kira's desk where Lisa had left it that morning. She picked it up again, reading words she had memorized weeks ago. Battle of Frontier Post Sigma 7. Kreth swarm overwhelmed defensive positions. Lieutenant Kira Orthen held the eastern choke point, allowing 17 soldiers to evacuate before enemy forces breached her position. Remains recovered and cremated per military protocol. Died with honor, died with honor. As if those 3 words made the loss acceptable, Lisa's reflection stared back at her from the darkened window. Her scales had dulled since receiving the news, the bioluminescent markings along her neck and arms barely glowing. Other Talvarani noticed, but said nothing. Grief was expected. Time would heal, they assured her. She would find peace. They were wrong. Peace required acceptance, and Lisa could not accept that her daughter's final moments were spent alone, holding back monsters while others ran to safety. Could not accept that she had encouraged Kira to join the military, had been proud when her hybrid daughter earned her commission despite the whispers and doubts. Could not accept that her last conversation with Kira had been a routine communication, nothing special, no premonition that it would be their final words that a soft chime interrupted her thoughts. Lisa turned from the window, grateful for the distraction. Her executive officer's voice came through the comm system, professional but cautious. Everyone treated her with caution these days, as if she might shatter at any moment. Commander, there's a situation at the security checkpoint. A human civilian requesting to meet with you. He claims to have served with Lieutenant Orthen. Lisa closed her eyes. Another well-meaning soldier come to offer condolences, to tell her that Kira died bravely, that her sacrifice mattered. She had endured dozens of these meetings. They meant well, these young soldiers, but their words were empty comfort. Tell him I appreciate the gesture, but I'm unavailable. A pause. Then her executive officer spoke again, uncertainty creeping into his tone. Ma'am, he seems unwell. The security team is concerned. He keeps saying you need to know the truth, that she deserves to know. Something in those words made Lisa straighten. The truth, not condolences, not sympathy. Truth. Put him in my office. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Lisa took one last look around Kira's quarters. The data pad on the nightstand showing a half-finished message to a friend. The boots by the door, still dusty from her last planet-side leave. The hollow photo on the shelf showing Kira at graduation. Human features blending seamlessly with Talvarani, caught between 2 worlds but belonging fully to neither. Her daughter had faced that reality every day. Too human for some Talvarani, too alien for some humans. The military had promised that merit mattered more than genetics, that service would prove her worth. Lisa had believed them, had encouraged Kira to believe them. Perhaps that was her greatest failure. The walk to her office took longer than 5 minutes. Crew members stepped aside as she passed, offering respectful nods but avoiding eye contact. They meant well. Everyone meant well. But their careful distance only amplified her isolation. Security had placed the human in her office rather than an interrogation room, a courtesy that suggested they believed his intentions were genuine. Lisa paused outside the door, composing herself. She had no patience for emotional displays, from herself or others. The door slid open. The human stood by the window, his back to her. He was thinner than his build suggested he should be, shoulders hunched as if carrying invisible weight. When he turned, Lisa saw the careful way he moved, the slight favor of his left leg, the tension in his jaw that spoke of managed pain. But it was his eyes that stopped her. They held the particular emptiness she had seen in soldiers who had witnessed too much, survived when others had not. Guilt and grief mixed with something harder, something that looked like determination. His gaze went immediately to the hollow photo on her desk. Kira in dress uniform, confident smile, eyes bright with youth and optimism. The human stared at it for a long moment before speaking. "Commander Ortan, my name is David Rivers. I was the field medic assigned to your daughter's unit." Lisa remained standing, hands clasped behind her back. Military posture, professional distance. Armor against the emotions threatening to overwhelm her. "Mr. Rivers, I'm told you have something to tell me." He reached into his jacket, movements slow and deliberate. Security had clearly searched him, but his caution suggested awareness of how his actions might be perceived. He placed a small data chip on her desk, his hand shaking slightly. "The official report you received is incomplete, Commander." Deliberately so. Lisa's scales rippled, an involuntary response to sudden tension. "Explain." David's voice was quiet but steady. "I'm here to tell you that your daughter didn't die the way they said she did. And I have proof." Lisa's first instinct was to throw the human out of her office. Conspiracy theories from traumatized soldiers were not uncommon. War broke people in different ways, and some coped by constructing elaborate narratives that made sense of senseless loss. She had seen it before, but something about David Rivers made her hesitate. The way he held himself, the tremor in his hands, the careful precision of his words. This was not the manic energy of delusion. This was fear. "Mr. Rivers, I understand you're struggling with what happened at Sigma 7. Survivor's guilt is a serious condition, and there are resources available to help you process your trauma. But I will not entertain conspiracy theories about my daughter's death." David flinched at her words, but did not back down. He gestured to the data chip on her desk. "I was discharged early for psychological instability. That's what my medical file says. The truth is I refused to stay silent about what I saw, what I witnessed. They couldn't court-martial me without a trial that would expose information they wanted buried, so they invalidated me instead. Made me unreliable. Made sure no one would believe me." Lisa picked up the chip, turning it over in her palm. "Such a small thing. And what exactly do you believe you witnessed?" "Not believe, Commander." "No." David moved closer to the desk, his intensity growing. "I was there. I held your daughter's hand while she bled out because the evacuation that was supposed to extract us never came. I watched her die knowing that she had been sent there deliberately, that all the hybrids in our unit had been sent there deliberately." The word hung between them. "Hybrids," spoken with particular emphasis, as if it explained everything. "You're suggesting my daughter was targeted because of her heritage." "I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you facts." David's voice cracked slightly. There were 17 hybrids serving in the frontier units. All 17 are listed as casualties across various battles over a 6-month period. Every single one. Do you understand those odds, Commander? 17 for 17. All dead within half a year. Lisa set the chip down carefully. Her training told her to end this conversation, to report David to medical services, to forget this interaction. But her instincts, honed through decades of command, told her something different. "Why come to me? If what you're saying is true, if there's a conspiracy targeting hybrid soldiers, why not take this to military oversight? To the press?" David laughed, a bitter sound without humor. "I tried. My communications are monitored. My account's frozen. I can't send messages off-world without approval, can't access secure networks. Can't even board a commercial transport without security screening. They've made sure I'm isolated. But they can't stop me from walking onto a military station and requesting a meeting with a bereaved commanding officer. Professional courtesy. So you used me?" "No." David's voice turned sharp. "I came to you because you deserve the truth. Because your daughter deserves the truth. And because you're one of the few people with the rank and resources to actually do something about it." Lisa studied him carefully. The tremor in his hands, the dark circles under his eyes, the way he kept glancing at the door as if expecting security to burst through at any moment. This was a man living on the edge, driven by something more powerful than self-preservation. What's on the chip? Helmet camera footage from a battle. Audio recordings. Mission briefings with timestamps showing your daughter was given false intelligence. Communications logged showing extraction orders that were deliberately delayed. And my own medical recordings from a field. David's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. I was ordered to abandon the hybrids and fall back with the human units. When I refused and went back for them, I found Kira still alive. Barely, but alive. I stabilized her as much as I could. I held her hand and told her help was coming. I promised her she would survive. His eyes met Lisa's, and she saw the full weight of his guilt. She believed me, and then she died. And the official report said she fell holding the line, heroic sacrifice, remains recovered and cremated. All neat and clean. But that's not what happened, Commander. That's not even close to what happened. Lisa's hand moved toward the chip, then stopped. Once she viewed the contents, there would be no going back. Ignorance was a form of protection. Truth was a weapon that cut in all directions. If you're lying to me, if this is some elaborate fabrication born from trauma or malice, I will destroy you. I will use every resource at my command to ensure you never serve again, never work again, never have a moment's peace. Do you understand? David nodded. I understand. And, Commander, I wish I was lying. I wish this was all in my head. I wish I could convince myself that what I saw was wrong, that my memories are distorted, that there's a reasonable explanation. But there isn't. And your daughter's last words to me were about you. Lisa's scales flared involuntarily. What did she say? She said to tell you that she understood why you tried to protect her, that you were right about them never seeing her as equal. She wasn't angry, Commander. She was resigned, like she had always known it would end this way. The words hit Lisa harder than any physical blow. She remembered arguments with Kira about prejudice, about the barriers hybrids faced. Kira had been optimistic, determined to prove herself through service and dedication. Lisa had been more cynical, more protective. In the end, neither had been enough. She picked up the chip and moved to her private terminal. How much time do we have before they realize you're here? David glanced at his wrist display. Maybe an hour. They'll track my movements eventually, but I took precautions. Enough time to review the primary files. Lisa inserted the chip into her terminal and entered her command codes to isolate the system from the station's network. Whatever was on this chip, she would see it without interference. The first file loaded. Helmet camera footage, timestamped showing the date of Kira's death. But the opening frames showed something unexpected. Not the Kreth swarm. Not the desperate last stand described in the reports. The footage showed human soldiers. And they were leaving. The footage played in silence, except for the harsh breathing of the soldier wearing the camera. Through the shaky perspective, Lisa watched human troops moving in organized retreat, carrying equipment, supporting wounded comrades, following established evacuation protocols. Nothing about their movements suggested panic or chaos. This was planned withdrawal. Audio, Lisa commanded, her voice steady despite the ice forming in her chest. David reached over and adjusted the controls. Voices filled the office, crackling through the battlefield interference. All human personnel, fall back to extraction point Beta. Repeat, all human personnel evacuate immediately. What about the forward positions? We still got people holding the eastern approach. A pause. Then another voice, calm and administrative. Those positions are designated for delay action. They'll buy us time to secure the equipment and complete evacuation. Sir, those are our people out there. Those are acceptable losses, soldier. Hybrid assets were briefed on the mission parameters. They knew the risks. Now move out. Lisa's hands gripped the edge of her desk. The bioluminescent markings along her arms flared bright, then dimmed, her body betraying the rage building inside her. Acceptable losses. Hybrid assets. Clinical terms for abandoning soldiers to die. The footage continued. The perspective shifted as the wearer moved through corridors and defensive positions. In the background, Lisa could hear other voices, confused, calling for orders that never came. Where's our extraction? Command, we need immediate evac. Eastern position is about to be overrun. Command, respond. We have wounded, need medical support and transport now. They're not answering. Why aren't they answering? Then a voice Lisa recognized. Her daughter's voice, tight with stress but still controlled. Kira had inherited her mother's discipline, her ability to function under pressure. Hearing that voice, knowing what was coming, nearly broke Lisa's composure. All units, fall back to my position. We're being abandoned. This is a fighting retreat. Stay together, cover each other. We're getting out of this. But they did not get out. The footage showed the Kreth swarm hitting the position minutes later, overwhelming the undermanned defenses. The camera perspective went chaotic, showing flashes of combat, of soldiers falling, of desperate last stands that should never have been necessary. David's voice pulled Lisa back from the screen. The intelligence your daughter received was falsified. The Kreth force was 3 times larger than reported. The defensive positions were inadequate for the actual threat, and the extraction window was deliberately shortened. Everything about that mission was designed to maximize hybrid casualties while minimizing risk to human personnel. Lisa forced herself to keep watching. The footage showed David reaching Kira's position, medical supplies already out, working with practiced efficiency despite the chaos around them. The camera angle made it difficult to see Kira clearly, but Lisa could hear her daughter's labored breathing, could see the blood pooling beneath her. "Stay with me, Lieutenant. You're going to be fine. Help is coming." "No, it isn't." Kira's voice was weak but clear. "They're not coming back for us. This was the plan all along. We were expendable. Don't talk like that. Save your strength." David, the use of his first name, the intimacy of it, suggested friendship beyond military rank. "Tell my mother something for me. Tell her I understood. Tell her she tried to protect me and I didn't listen. Tell her she was right about them never seeing me as equal." The audio cut off. Lisa stared at the blank screen, her mind struggling to process what she had witnessed. Everything she had believed about her daughter's death, every consolation she had drawn from the official narrative of heroic sacrifice, had been a lie. "There's more," David said quietly. He navigated to another file. Mission briefings, communications logs, evidence of a classified program called Project Vanguard. I managed to access portions of it before my clearance was revoked. Documents filled the screen. Lisa read through them with growing horror. Project Vanguard was a human military initiative focused on what they termed optimal resource allocation in high-casualty operations. The language was bureaucratic, sterile, designed to obscure the fundamental truth beneath the jargon. Hybrids were considered expendable assets. Their mixed heritage made them politically safer casualties than pure humans. Their deaths would not generate the same level of public outcry, would not strain diplomatic relations between species. They were, according to one particularly damning memo, useful buffers between human forces and unacceptable losses. "How many knew?" Lisa's voice came out hoarse. "How high does this go?" "I don't know the full extent, but it's not just a few rogue officers. This required coordination across multiple levels of command, falsified intelligence reports, manipulated casualty data, controlled media coverage. That takes institutional support." Lisa stood and paced the office, her mind racing through implications and possibilities. If this became public, the political fallout would be catastrophic. Human-Talvarani relations were already strained by various territorial disputes and trade disagreements. Evidence of deliberate hybrid casualties could shatter the alliance entirely, which explained why they had silenced David, why they had cremated Kira's remains so quickly, eliminating physical evidence, why the official reports were so clean, so heroic, so final. Why told me all this? You could have disappeared, try to build a new life somewhere beyond their reach. Instead, you came here, knowing they would track you, knowing you were risking everything. David met her eyes. "Because I held your daughter's hand while she died. I made her a promise I couldn't keep, and I'm tired of living with that. If they're going to destroy me, I'd rather it be for telling the truth than staying silent." Station alarms suddenly blared to life, red lights flashing in the corridor outside. Lisa's terminal chimed with an urgent message from security. An unscheduled military transport had just docked. Priority clearance. Admiral Brent Hawthorne aboard with a security detail. David's expression shifted from resignation to grim satisfaction. They're faster than I expected, but it doesn't matter. You have the evidence now. The question is what you're going to do with it. Lisa looked at the frozen image on her screen. Here is Service photo, young and optimistic, believing in a system that had betrayed her. Then she looked at David, this broken human who had risked everything to bring her the truth. I'm going to burn it all down, Lisa said quietly. But first, we're going to have a conversation with the Admiral. Admiral Brent Hawthorne entered Lisa's office like a man accustomed to immediate deference. His uniform was immaculate, his bearing confident, his expression carefully arranged into sympathetic concern. Two security officers flanked him, hands resting casually near their sidearms. A show of force dressed as protective escort. Commander Orthen, I apologize for the unannounced visit. When we learned Mr. Rivers had made contact with you, we felt immediate intervention was necessary for your well-being. Lisa remained behind her desk, standing at attention. Military protocol, professional courtesy. She had ejected the data chip and palmed it before the Admiral's arrival, the small device now concealed in her uniform pocket. David stood near the window, his expression carefully neutral. My well-being, Admiral. Hawthorne's smile was practiced, warm, completely empty. Mr. Rivers is unwell, Commander. His discharge was necessary due to severe psychological trauma following the events at Sigma-7. He has, unfortunately, developed elaborate conspiracy theories regarding your daughter's death. We've been monitoring his movements, concerned he might seek out bereaved families and cause additional distress. He brought me evidence, Lisa said flatly. He brought you manipulated footage and miscontextualized communications, Commander. His condition has led him to see patterns where none exist, to attribute malice to simple tactical decisions. What happened at Sigma-7 was a tragedy, but it was not a conspiracy. Hawthorne moved closer to her desk, his posture open and reasonable. He was good at this, Lisa realized. The performance of sincerity, the careful deployment of sympathy mixed with authority. How many other families had he done this to? How many had accepted his explanations? Your daughter died heroically, holding a position against overwhelming force so others could escape. She saved 17 lives that day. That sacrifice deserves to be honored, not tarnished by paranoid delusions. Then you won't mind if I review the evidence independently. Something flickered in Hawthorne's eyes. Not quite concern, but a subtle recalculation. Of course not, Commander. However, I must insist you turn over any materials Mr. Rivers provided. They're classified documents obtained illegally, and their possession constitutes a security violation. I've already reviewed them, Lisa lied smoothly, and I found nothing that contradicts the official reports. Mr. Rivers is clearly struggling with survivor's guilt. I recommended he seek proper medical treatment. She pulled a dummy data chip from her desk drawer, one she kept for training simulations, and placed it on the desk between them. Hawthorne's hand moved toward it, then stopped. He was studying her face, searching for deception. You understand, Commander, that spreading unfounded accusations about classified military operations could have severe consequences. For your career, for interspecies relations, for the stability of our alliance. There was the threat dressed in diplomatic language. Lisa had heard similar warnings before, knew how power protected itself through carefully structured intimidation. I understand perfectly, Admiral. My daughter was a soldier. She understood risks and accepted them. Mr. Rivers' theories, while compelling to a grieving mother, don't withstand scrutiny. I believe he needs help, not persecution. Hawthorne picked up the chip, his posture relaxing slightly. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this, Commander. We're prepared to offer additional memorial honors for your daughter. A posthumous commendation, inclusion in the memorial wall at headquarters, a special ceremony. Your daughter was a hero. Let's make sure her legacy reflects that. That's generous, Admiral. It's deserved. Hawthorne gestured to his security detail, who moved to either side of David. Mr. Rivers will receive proper treatment. You have my word he'll be well cared for. David said nothing, but his eyes met Lisa's briefly. Understanding passed between them. Whatever happened next, the real evidence was safe. After Hawthorne and his detail left with David in custody, Lisa waited exactly 5 minutes before activating a secure communication channel. Dr. Yanishell's face appeared on the screen, concern evident in her features. Lisa, I received your file transfer. What is this? Everything I need you to verify. Medical records, mission logs, evidence of systematic targeting. Can you cross-reference it with Kira's medical files from birth onward? Dr. Shell had been the physician who delivered Kira, who had monitored her development, who had treated her minor injuries throughout childhood. If anyone could verify the medical aspects of David's evidence, it was her. This will take time, and if what you're suggesting is true, examining these files puts me at risk. I know what I'm asking, Yana. You can refuse. Silence stretched between them. Then Dr. Shell's expression hardened with determination. I deliver that child. I watched her grow. I will not let this stand. The communication ended. Lisa sat in the silence of her office, the weight of decisions pressing down on her. She had committed to a path now, one that could destroy her career, could damage diplomatic relations, could paint her as an unstable mother grasping at conspiracy theories. But she had also heard her daughter's voice on that recording, had watched the evidence of betrayal, had seen the clinical calculations that treated lives as expendable resources. Hours passed. Lisa worked through routine reports and communications, maintaining appearances of normalcy. Station operations continued around her, crew members unaware of the storm building beneath the surface calm. Near the end of her shift, another message arrived from Dr. Shell. Encrypted, marked urgent. Lisa opened it in her secured terminal. I found something. You need to see this immediately, but not on the station. I'm sending coordinates to an old medical facility. Come alone. And Lisa, bring everything you have on David Rivers. He needs to see this too. Below the message was a file attachment and a short addendum that made Lisa's blood freeze. Kira's genetic tracking nanites, the ones implanted during her childhood vaccinations. They transmitted signals for 6 hours after her official time of death. I don't know what that means, but the military logged her as deceased and cremated while those signals were still active. Your daughter was alive when they declared her dead. Lisa read the message 3 times, each word burning into her mind. Alive. Kira had been alive. Perhaps still was alive. Everything David had told her suddenly seemed like just the surface of something much deeper and darker. Project Vanguard wasn't just about using hybrids as expendable casualties. It was something worse. She deleted the message from her terminal and stood. The coordinates Dr. Shell provided were in an abandoned sector, former medical research station, now decommissioned. Meeting there meant going off-grid, meant abandoning her post, meant crossing lines that couldn't be uncrossed. Lisa looked at Kira's photo one more time. Then she gathered her personal effects and headed for the shuttle bay. The medical facility drifted in dead space, running lights long extinguished, solar panels retracted. From the outside, it looked like countless other abandoned stations scattered across the frontier, victims of budget cuts or changing military priorities. But something about its isolation felt deliberate. Hidden rather than forgotten, Lisa docked her shuttle manually, avoiding automated systems that might log her arrival. Dr. Shell's ship was already secured in the adjacent bay. Through the viewport, Lisa could see lights inside the station, suggesting Dr. Shell had restored minimal power to the critical sections. The airlock cycled. Lisa stepped into corridors that smelled of recycled air and disuse. Emergency lighting cast everything in pale green, giving the empty medical facility a ghostly quality. Her footsteps echoed too loudly in the silence. Down here, Dr. Shell's voice carried from a side corridor. Lisa followed it to what had once been a research laboratory, now converted into a makeshift command center. Portable computers displayed scrolling data, medical records, genetic profiles. Dr. Shell looked exhausted, her Talvarani features tight with stress and anger. How did you get access to this facility? I didn't. I broke in. Used old maintenance code from when this was an active medical research station. They never bothered changing them after decommissioning. Dr. Shell gestured to the displays. because they wanted to be able to come back. They wanted to leave the data intact. Lisa moved closer, scanning the information. Military medical records for dozens of individuals, all marked with the same designation. Hybrid physiology, cross-species genetic markers, enhanced healing factors, adaptive immune responses. Project Vanguard wasn't just about using hybrids as expendable soldiers, Dr. Shell said quietly. It was about studying them, understanding their physiology, learning why mixed heritage produces certain advantages. And they couldn't do that effectively with dead subjects. The implication hit Lisa like physical impact. You're saying they kept them alive. Not all of them. Most were too damaged, their injuries too severe. But some, the ones who survived their supposed deaths long enough to be recovered, were brought here. Listed as Kia in official records while they were actually being studied in secret facilities. Dr. Shell pulled up another file. Medical transport logs, encrypted but now decoded. 5 names on the list. Kira Ordhin was third from the top. Your daughter was transported here 17 hours after the Battle of Sigma 7. Her vitals were weak but stable when she arrived. She remained here for 6 weeks. Where is she now? Lisa's voice came out harsh, demanding. 6 weeks. Kira had been alive for 6 weeks while Lisa mourned her death. I don't know. The facility was evacuated 3 months ago. Final logs indicate subjects were divided. Some were marked for disposal. Others were transferred to an unknown location. There's no clear indication which category Kira fell into. Lisa's hands clenched into fists. The careful control she had maintained since receiving David's evidence began cracking. Rage and hope warred inside her, neither emotion quite able to dominate. Show me everything. For the next hour, Dr. Shell walked Lisa through the evidence. Medical experiments designed to understand hybrid physiology, test their healing capabilities, map their genetic structures. Nothing explicitly harmful, but nothing consensual either. The hybrids had no idea they were being studied. They had believed they were receiving treatment for battlefield injuries. Research notes discussed accelerated healing, efficient organ function, adaptive stress responses. The scientists were clinical in their observations, treating the subjects like specimens rather than people. One recurring theme appeared throughout the documentation: understanding hybrid advantages to develop countermeasures. They weren't studying hybrids to help them, Lisa said, understanding dawning. They were studying hybrids to neutralize their advantages, to make sure if hybrids ever became a threat, humanity wouldn't know their weaknesses. That's my assessment. The project framed itself as medical research, but the underlying purpose was military advantage. Control through knowledge. Dr. Shell opened another file. Audio logs, smuggled recordings from inside the facility. Voices of the subjects, confused, asking when they could return to duty, asking why their families hadn't been contacted. And then, unmistakably, Kira's voice. This is the 14th day since I woke up here. They still won't tell me what happened to my unit, won't let me contact anyone. They say it's for security reasons, that my injuries were severe and I need more recovery time. But something feels wrong. The way they look at me, the tests they run. This doesn't feel like a medical facility. It feels like a prison. Lisa closed her eyes, listening to her daughter's growing suspicion and fear captured in secret recordings. I tried to access the communication system today. They caught me, said it was for my own good, that premature contact could compromise operational security. But I've been in the military long enough to recognize when I'm being contained. Something happened at Sigma 7 that they don't want discussed. And I think I'm being kept here because I know too much. The recording shifted to a different date, Kira's voice more strained. If anyone finds this, if someone manages to access these logs, please tell my mother I'm alive. Tell her not to believe whatever story they fed her. Tell her I tried to get home. And tell her she was right. She was right about everything. The recording ended. Lisa stood motionless, her daughter's words echoing in the silent laboratory. Dr. Shell gave her space, understanding that some moments required solitude despite physical presence. Finally, Lisa spoke. The evacuation logs.
You said some subjects were transferred. Is there any indication where? No direct references, but there's a mention of Site Meridian in the administrative files. No coordinates, no explanation, just the name. It could be another research facility, or it could be something else entirely. Then we find it. We track down every reference, every file fragment, every communication that mentions this site, and we bring this entire operation into the light. Dr. Shell nodded. I've already begun compiling evidence for public release. Medical ethics violations, unauthorized experiments, falsified death records. This goes beyond Project Vanguard. This is systematic abuse spanning multiple institutions. A proximity alarm suddenly flared on Dr. Shell's portable display. Ships approaching. Military transponders. Admiral Hawthorne had tracked them. We need to leave now, Dr. Shell said urgently. But Lisa was already downloading files to a portable drive, working with focused intensity. Not yet. We copy everything. Every file, every log, every piece of evidence. Then we scatter it across every network we can access. They can't suppress what they can't contain. The alarm intensified, minutes until the ships arrived. The files transferred with agonizing slowness while military ships closed the distance. Dr. Shell monitored their approach, calling out proximity warnings every 30 seconds. Lisa forced herself to remain calm, to trust the technology, to believe they would have enough time. 90 seconds until weapons range. The portable drive reached capacity. Lisa ejected it, loaded a second one, continued copying. Everything had to be preserved. Every medical record, every research log, every piece of evidence that proved what had been done to her daughter and the other hybrids. Incoming transmission. It's Hawthorne. Lisa ignored it. The second drive filled. She started a third. The laboratory speakers crackled to life, Hawthorne's voice filling the space without her permission. Remote override, military authority, superseding local controls. Commander Orthen, this is your final warning. You are in possession of classified materials and have violated multiple security protocols. Stand down immediately, and we can resolve this without criminal charges. Your career, your reputation, your freedom. All of it can be salvaged if you stop now. Lisa continued working, hands steady despite the threat. The third drive reached 60% capacity. Think about what you're doing, Commander. Think about the consequences. This information, released improperly, could destabilize the human Talvarani alliance. It could start conflicts that cost millions of lives. Is your grief worth that price? 70%. The military ships were close enough now that Dr. Shell's sensors showed weapon systems activating. They would not fire on the station, Lisa judged. Too risky. They would board instead, try to take them into custody, seize the evidence. Your daughter died a hero, Lisa. Let her remain one. Don't taint her memory with conspiracy theories and classified leaks. Honor her sacrifice by standing down. The drive reached full capacity. Lisa pulled it free and handed all 3 drives to Dr. Shell. Get to your ship. Take different routes away from here. Scatter the files to every oversight committee, every news organization, every diplomatic channel you can access. Make sure this becomes too public to suppress. What about you? I'm going to buy you time. Now, go. Dr. Shell hesitated only a moment before running toward the shuttle bay. Lisa moved to the communication panel and opened a response channel. Admiral Hawthorne, this is Commander Lisa Orthen. I'm prepared to surrender myself into your custody on one condition. You give me 5 minutes to speak uninterrupted. Then I'll come quietly. Silence. Then Hawthorne's voice, cautious. Very well, Commander. 5 minutes. Lisa activated the station's emergency broadcast system, a network designed to reach multiple channels simultaneously in case of disaster. Hawthorne would realize what she was doing within seconds, but seconds were all she needed. My name is Commander Lisa Orthen of the Talvarani military. 3 months ago, my daughter Kira was killed in action. I was told she died heroically, holding a defensive position so others could escape. That was a lie. She spoke quickly, clearly, laying out the evidence she had gathered. Project Vanguard, the deliberate targeting of hybrid soldiers. the falsified intelligence and abandoned positions, the secret medical facilities and unauthorized experiments, Kira's survival after her supposed death, the systematic cover-up spanning multiple levels of military command. I have documented proof of everything I'm claiming. Medical records, communications logs, research files, audio recordings. This evidence has been transmitted to multiple independent sources and will be made public regardless of what happens to me. The only question now is whether those responsible will be held accountable or whether this becomes another institutional failure brushed aside for political convenience. The channel filled with interference as Hawthorne's ships attempted to jam her transmission. But the message had already propagated across multiple networks, copied and forwarded through automated systems faster than suppression could contain it. My daughter believed in the system she served. She believed that merit and dedication would overcome prejudice. She was wrong. The system betrayed her, used her, treated her as expendable because of her mixed heritage. How many other hybrids suffered the same fate? How many families were lied to? How many lives were considered acceptable losses in service of political calculations? Lisa's voice remained steady, but emotion bled through the careful control. I'm not doing this for revenge. I am doing this because the truth matters. Because transparency is the only weapon against institutional abuse. Because my daughter deserves better than a heroic lie built on betrayal. And because if we cannot acknowledge these failures, we cannot prevent them from happening again. She ended the transmission. Outside, through the facility's viewports, military ships took up positions around the station. Boarding craft launched, their running lights visible against the darkness. Lisa stood in the laboratory, surrounded by evidence of systematic cruelty, and waited. She had sacrificed her career, possibly her freedom, definitely her relationship with the military that had defined her adult life. But she had also ensured the truth would survive regardless of what happened next. The airlock cycled. Footsteps echoed in the corridor. Security personnel entered the laboratory, weapons raised but not aimed. Hawthorne followed them, his expression carefully neutral. You've made a serious mistake, Commander. No, I admit it. I corrected one. The mistake was made by those who thought they could treat lives as resources to be expended without consequence. Hawthorne gestured, and security moved to restrain her. Lisa did not resist. As they secured her hands, she met Hawthorne's eyes with quiet defiance. The files are already public. By morning, every news organization, every diplomatic channel, every oversight committee in known space will have access. You can arrest me, discredit me, do whatever you need to protect yourself. But you cannot stop what's coming. Days later, across multiple star systems, the evidence began breaking into public consciousness. News organizations ran investigations. Diplomatic channels demanded explanations. Military oversight committees opened formal inquiries. The cover-up fractured under the weight of documentation that could not be denied or dismissed. And somewhere, on a civilian transport traveling under false credentials, a figure with purple scales and human features watched the news broadcast from a public terminal. Kira Orten, thinner than before, scarred by injuries and betrayal, saw her mother being led away in restraints. Saw the headlines about Project Vanguard. Saw the public fury building across multiple species. She touched the screen, fingers tracing her mother's image. I'm coming home, Mom. Just hold on a little longer. Behind her, four other figures waited. The last survivors of Project Vanguard escaped during the evacuation chaos, hidden among refugees and displaced populations while they healed and planned. They had been scattered, isolated, told they were alone. Now they knew different. Ready? One of them asked. Kira looked back at her mother's image one more time. Then she turned toward her companions, toward whatever came next, toward the long road home. Ready?